The bottle shattered against the oak-paneled wall of the corner office, shards exploding like the fragments of Logan's resolve, whiskey pooling on the Persian rug like blood from a fresh wound. "You're a goddamn disgrace, Logan, a family failure who couldn't man up if your life depended on it," his father spat, veins bulging in his neck like twisted rebar, the words landing harder than any punch from Logan's rough-and-tumble youth. In that frozen instant, as the amber liquid dripped down family photos of stern patriarchs and polished legacies, Logan realized the empire his blood had built might one day be his to claim or burn to the ground. Logan Harper had grown up in the shadow of Harper Steelworks, a sprawling industrial beast forged in the Rust Belt grid of Pittsburgh but transplanted to the gleaming high-rises of Manhattan when his father, Victor Harper, decided Wall Street's wolves needed cages of cold, hard metal. At 28, Logan was the heir apparent, or so the board whispered in hushed tones during quarterly meetings. But Victor made sure everyone knew the truth. Logan was the glitch in the system, the queer son who'd shattered the straight-line legacy with his whispered coming out at 17. A confession met not with open arms but with a slammed door and a lifetime of conditional silences. That explosive afternoon in Victor's office marked the nadir, the point where the chasm between father and son yawned widest. It started innocently enough, a routine pitch for Logan's latest innovation, a sustainable steel alloy that could greenlight Harper Steelworks into the 21st century without gutting the planet. Logan had poured his soul into it, late nights in the R&D lab blurring into dawns fueled by black coffee and the ghost of approval he'd chased since childhood. But when Victor's eyes skimmed the proposal, they didn't see progress, they saw weakness, a son's desperate bid for validation. "You think slapping eco-friendly on this crap makes you a visionary? It's pandering to those rainbow flag-waving freaks you run with," Victor snarled, his voice a gravelly echo of the mill foreman he'd once commanded. Perched on the 47th floor of One Penn Center, felt like a pressure cooker, the Hudson River glittering mockingly through floor-to-ceiling windows. Logan stood there, 6'1" of coiled tension, his tailored navy suit suddenly feeling like a straitjacket. He'd come out to his father over a decade ago, in the dim light of their old brownstone kitchen, the air thick with the scent of his mom's pot roast cooling on the stove. Victor had frozen, fork midway to his mouth, then pushed back his chair with a screech that still haunted Logan's dreams. "This family's built on backbone. Whatever the hell this is." No yelling then, just the quiet burial of their bond, interred under layers of disapproval. As the whiskey dripped, Logan felt that old wound rip open. This isn't about politics. It's about survival. The world's changing, clients want green steel, or we'll lose them to the Chinese knockoffs flooding the market. His voice cracked on the last word, betraying the boy who still craved his father's nod. Victor laughed, a bark that echoed off the glass walls, and hurled the bottle. It wasn't just glass breaking, it was the illusion of reconciliation, the fragile hope Logan nursed after every forced family dinner where Victor's eyes slid past him like he was a smudge on the silverware. Survival? You're the reason I lie awake wondering if I failed as a man. Parading your lifestyle like it's something to be proud of. Get out. And take your fairy tale projects with you. The slur landed like a sucker punch, Victor's face purpling with the effort of unleashing what he'd bottled for years. Logan didn't flinch. Years of bar fights and Hell's Kitchen dives had toughened him, but inside, something vital fractured. He turned on his heel, the door clicking shut behind him like a guillotine. The elevator ride down was a descent into hell. 47 floors of solitude where Logan's reflection in the mirrored walls mocked him, sharp jaw set, hazel eyes stormy, the scar from a teenage skateboarding wipeout, a silvery crescent on his left cheek, pulsing like a fresh cut. By the time he hit the lobby, the city's pulse throbbed in sync with his rage, taxis honking like angry geese, pedestrians in power heels clacking past on marble floors, the eternal New York symphony of ambition and anonymity. He needed air, needed escape, so he bolted for the streets, weaving through the throng toward the nearest subway grate, where steam rose like exorcised demons. That's when he collided with Elias. Literally, chest to chest in the crush of Fifth Avenue, coffee splashing across both their shirts like a baptism in bitterness. Shit. Sorry. Oh. Logan. Elias's voice cut through the chaos. Warm and familiar. A lifeline in the storm. 30. Elias Rivera was the silver lining in Logan's corporate cage, lead engineer in R&D. With a quick wit that disarmed boardroom sharks and a smile that could melt Manhattan's winter chill. They'd bonded over blueprints and bad takeout 2 years back. Late nights turning into confessions over stolen glances and accidental knee brushes under conference tables. Elias was out and proud. A Puerto Rican firecracker from the Bronx who'd clawed his way to Columbia on scholarships and sheer will. Their first kiss had been tentative. Rain slicked on a fire escape after a company happy hour, tasting of gin and possibility. But Elias steadied him with hands that lingered just a beat too long, concern etching lines around his dark eyes. You look like you just got steamrolled by a freight train. Victor again? Logan's nod was all the answer needed. Elias pulled him into a doorway alcove, away from the pedestrian parade, his thumb brushing a coffee stain from Logan's collar, a gesture so tender it nearly undid him. Talk to me, mi amor. What's he done now? The words tumbled out then. A torrent of venom and vulnerability. The bottle. The rejection of the project that Logan had bled for. Elias listened, his face a canvas of quiet fury, until Logan trailed off. But he's wrong. You know that, Elias murmured, cupping Logan's face, thumb tracing the scar like it was a map to his soul. You're not a failure. You're the best damn thing Harper Steele has going. And the best damn thing in my life. Their lips met then, fierce and claiming, a rebellion against the father's decree. Pedestrians blurred by. But in that stolen moment, New York faded, the Empire State a distant spire, the chaos a mere backdrop to the heat building between them. They ended up at Elias's walk-up in Brooklyn. A third-floor railroad apartment crammed with vinyl records, half-finished canvases, Elias painted in secret, abstracts born of insomnia, and the faint scent of adobo from his abuela's recipes. It was worlds away from Logan's sterile midtown loft. All chrome and minimalism. A space Victor had furnished like a show home. Tangled in Elias's sheets that smelled of sandalwood and sweat. Logan let go. Their lovemaking was a ritual of reclamation, Elias's hands mapping every inch of him. Whispers in Spanglish, Erie's mio. Logan. Always, turning pain into pleasure, isolation into intimacy. As they lay spent, Elias's head on Logan's chest, heartbeat sinking like a well-oiled machine, Logan dared to dream of more. Not just survival, but thriving, building a life where love wasn't the punchline to his father's tragedy. But dreams in New York have a way of curdling. The next morning, over arepas and black coffee at the Formica kitchen table. Elias's phone buzzed with the news. Victor had canned Logan's green steel project, reallocating funds to a risky merger with a Texas oil baron desperate for rebar in fracking rigs. "It's a death knell," Elias said, scrolling through the internal memo, his face grim. "Environmentals are the future, not this fossil fuel bullshit. Your dad's gambling the company on yesterday." Logan felt the fracture widen, a seismic shift under his feet. Harper Steel wasn't just steel, it was legacy. The empire Victor had clawed from his own father's bankrupt mill in the '80s recession. Logan had been groomed for it since diapers, summers shadowing welders, winters poring over balance sheets. To lose it now, because of who he loved? Unthinkable. Yet think it he did. All the way back to Manhattan, the subways rattle a dirge for his ambitions. At the office, whispers followed him like smoke, herds the old man's cutting him loose. About time, kids too soft. Chasing those liberal causes. Logan buried himself in work, salvaging what he could of the alloy prototypes. But the boardroom betrayal stung deeper. It came via email. Innocuous at first, a restructuring that sidelined him to consulting, code for exile. Victor didn't even have the guts to say it to his face. That night, alone in his loft with the city lights mocking him through rain-streaked windows, Logan cracked open a bottle of Victor's favorite scotch, stolen from the office bar, and scrolled through old photos. There he was, age 10, gap-toothed grin beside his dad at a Steelers game. Foam fingers high. Victor, broad-shouldered and beaming, arms slung around his boy's shoulders. When had it soured? The coming out? Sure. But before that, the subtle drifts. The toughen up lectures after Logan cried over a lost Little League game. Elias texted, "Come over. We fight this together." But Logan didn't reply. For the first time, the weight felt solitary, a yoke he couldn't share. Weeks blurred into a haze of freelance gigs, consulting for boutique firms hungry for his eco-expertise, and stolen nights with Elias, where romance bloomed fierce amid the thorns. They explored the city like fugitives, midnight picnics in Central Park under starless skies. Hands intertwined on the High Line as freighters ghosted the Hudson. Whispered promises in dimly lit jazz dives in the village. Elias was Logan's anchor, his passion a fire that warmed the chill of rejection. "You're building your own empire, babe," he'd say, tracing lazy circles on Logan's back as they lay in bed. The Brooklyn Bridge humming outside. One where love's the cornerstone. Not steel, but the call came like a thunderclap, shattering the fragile peace. Victor. Voice rasped from chain-smoking Camels. On the landline Logan hadn't touched in months. Heart attack. Hospital. Now, Logan drove like a man possessed, weaving through Queens' Midtown tunnel traffic, Elias's worried texts pinging unanswered. Mount Sinai's ear was a fluorescent purgatory, beeps and moans a cacophony of mortality. Victor lay pale in a gown, monitors beeping like accusatory fingers, his empire reduced to in-4 drip. "Dad." Logan's voice was small, the boy resurfacing through the man's armor. Victor's eyes fluttered open, watery blue and stripped of bluster. "Logan. The merger. It's tanking." Boards circling like vultures. No apology, no embrace, just business. The only language they shared. But in that vulnerability, Logan saw the man beneath, a widower who'd buried his wife to cancer 10 years back. clinging to control like a life raft. "I need you," Victor whispered, the words a bridge over the chasm. Logan stayed, pulling all-nighters at the bedside, fielding calls from panicked execs while Elias smuggled in empanadas and moral support. It was in those hushed hours, Victor doped on morphine, that confessions trickled out. "Thought I was protecting you from the world that chewed me up. Didn't know I was the one with teeth." Logan held his hand, calloused from decades of handshakes, and for the first time, didn't pull away. Elias met Victor in the recovery room, tension crackling like static, but when Elias outlined a pivot, merging the green alloy with the Texas deal for hybrid viability, Victor's nod was grudging respect. "Kid's got your fire," he muttered to Logan, eyes flicking between them. Recovery was rocky, Victor's pride a stubborn weed. But Logan orchestrated the salvage, rallying the board with data-driven pitches, his voice steady where his heart raced. Elias was there every step. Their love the quiet engine, late-night strategy sessions dissolving into tender reunions, bodies entwined as blueprints scattered. The climax hit at the annual shareholder gala. Harper Steele's black tie requiem in the Rainbow Room atop Rockefeller Center. Logan, in a crisp tux that hugged his frame, presented the hybrid initiative to a room of skeptics. Frail but fierce in the wings, watched as applause thundered, not for the old guard, but for the son he'd branded failure. In the afterglow, amid clinking glasses and jazz swells, Victor pulled Logan aside, Elias hovering like a sentinel. "I was wrong about everything." The words hung heavy, Victor's hand on his shoulder a ghost of that Steelers photo. No dramatic sobs, just truth, raw as Pittsburgh rain. Logan nodded, throat tight. "We're family." The flaws and all. Elias's hand found his under the table, a promise sealed. As the city sprawled below, lights winking like conspirators, Logan felt the shift, not conquest, but connection. The company was his now, not by fiat but by forgiveness, a legacy rewritten in shades of gray, where steel bent but didn't break, and love forged the strongest beams. The months following the gala blurred into a renaissance for Harper Steelworks, a phoenix rising from Victor's near-miss with the Reaper. Logan stepped into the CO role not with fanfare but with the quiet inevitability of tides turning. His office now the 47th floor perch once dominated by his father's bluster. The walls still bore the faint whiskey stain, a Rorschach of their rupture, but Logan left it, a reminder that empires, like families, were built on fault lines. Elias moved in officially that spring, their lofts merging into a sun-drenched brownstone in Cobble Hill, where exposed brick whispered of old Brooklyn souls and rooftop gardens bloomed with Elias's haphazard herb pots. Mornings started with espresso ground fresh, Elias's laughter chasing away Logan's boardroom ghosts as they debated over the Times' sustainable policy 1 minute. The latest Scorsese flick the next. "You're turning into a mogul with a soft spot for rom-coms," Elias teased one dawn, nuzzling into Logan's neck, his stubble a delicious rasp. Logan chuckled, pulling him closer, their bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth by time. Sex was their sacrament, mornings lazy with exploration, Elias's mouth tracing the curve of Logan's hip, gasps mingling with birdsong from the window. It was romance distilled, not fireworks, but the steady burn of heathfire, warming the corners Victor's chill had frosted. Yet undercurrent stirred. Victor's recovery was a grudging dance, physical therapy in Central Park, where he'd grumble about hippie joggers while Logan pushed his wheelchair, their conversations inching from mergers to memories. Your mom. She knew. You know. About you. Said it made you braver than me. Victor's voice cracked on the bench by the Bethesda fountain. Angels weeping stone tears above them. Logan squeezed his shoulder, the scar on his cheek itching like phantom pain. Forgiveness wasn't linear, it zigzagged, laced with lapses. A dinner at Victor's Upper East Side airy turned sour when a tipsy uncle slurred. So, Logan's bringing the rainbow to the boardroom now. Victor's silence was a knife twist. But later, alone in the hall, he muttered, "Won't happen again." Promise. It was progress, brittle as new steel. When it came, was a blindside from the shadows. It started with whispers in the mailroom, anonymous emails hitting Logan's inbox, grainy photos of him and Elias tangled in a Greenwich Village bar. Captions venomous, CEO's distractions compromising deals. Logan dismissed them at first, chalking it up to corporate snakes. But the poison spread. A key client, old money Texan with oil slick ethics, pulled out of the hybrid project, citing moral misalignment in a leaked memo. Then the board meeting, projections tanking, fingers pointing at Logan's personal entanglements. Elias found him in the lab that night, surrounded by alloy samples glinting under fluorescence like fallen stars. "It's sabotage," Logan growled, slamming a tablet down, the photos mocking from the screen. Elias's face hardened, scrolling through the metadata. These timestamps. They're internal. Someone with access. The realization dawned cold. Betrayal from within the family fold. When confronted, faint shock. But his eyes darted, guilty flickers Logan knew from boyhood lies about Santa. The confrontation erupted in the boardroom. Post-merger vote. Air thick with cologne and concealed daggers. Logan. Sleeves rolled up, scars bared. Laid it out. The emails traced to a ghost account linked to Victor's assistant. A loyalist from the old mill days. "You couldn't let it go. Could you? The company's mine now, by your own hand, but you had to undermine it because I'm still that failure in your head." Victor's face crumpled. Not in denial but defeat. The room's suits shifting uncomfortably. "I thought I was protecting the legacy. From scandal. From you dragging us down." The words hung. A noose of paternal fear. And Elias, at Logan's side, interjected with steel. "Legacy? This is love, Victor. Not a scandal. And it's saving your ass." The fallout was cataclysmic. Victor resigned the chairmanship in a terse press release. Retreating to his eyrie like a deposed king, the city his indifferent moat. Logan, heart shredded, dove into damage control, securing the client with a personal pitch in Houston. Sweat beading under Stetson stares. His pitch laced with unyielding authenticity. Harper Steel bends for no one. But we evolve. That's the real strength. Landed. The deal salvaged. But victory tasted like ash without Elias's steadying hand. Nights turned tempestuous, their Brooklyn haven a battlefield of words and wounds. "How can I trust anyone now?" Logan hurled one evening, pacing the living room as thunder rumbled over the East River. Elias caught his arm, eyes fierce with love's unblinking truth. "Start with me. With us." Your dad's poison doesn't have to be yours. They made love then. Urgent and unraveling, Elias pinning him to the rug thrusts a rhythm of reclamation. Logan's cries echoing off brick as release washed away the rot. Afterward, curled in the afterglow, Elias whispered dreams, a life beyond steel. Perhaps a cabin upstate where they could build something theirs. Vines and vows intertwining. But the human heart is a fickle forge. And Victor's redemption arc twisted unexpectedly. A stroke felled him mid-autumn. Leaves carpeting Central Park in crimson requiems as Logan raced to the ICU. This time, no bluster, just a man diminished. Tubes snaking like regrets. His hand frail in Logan's grasp. Finish it, Victor rasped. Eyes locking with a clarity born of brinkmanship. The company. Forgive me. Son. I was scared of losing you to a world that hates what it doesn't understand. Tears tracked Logan's cheeks. The scar a badge of survival. Or even the now fight. Victor rallied. Slower this time. Therapy sessions laced with vulnerability. Elias joined them for Thanksgiving, turkey charred at the edges. Laughter tentative but real as they carved the bird like old wounds. Victor raised a glass. Voice gravel soft. To family. The kind that sticks. No matter the shape. Elias's hand under the table squeezed Logan's. A silent vow. The climax crested at year's end. Harper Steele's holiday gala transformed into a pivot point. Logan unveiled the fully realized hybrid line, green steel powering wind farms from Texas to the Dakotas, to a room electric with investors and influencers. Victor, cane in hand, took the stage beside him. Voice steady, this is my son's vision. And I'm damn proud. The applause roared. But for Logan, it was the quiet afterward, Elias pulling him onto the dance floor. Bodies swing to Coltrane's melancholy sax. The city a constellation witness. Betrayal's scar lingered. A reminder of fragility, but in its wake bloomed resilience. Logan and Elias married that spring in a rooftop ceremony overlooking the harbor. Vows exchanged under a sky bruised with promise. Victor walked Logan down the aisle, metaphorically. His health too frail for stairs, his toast a benediction, to loves that build empires stronger than any steel. The company thrived. Legacies rewritten. And in the quiet Brooklyn nights, Logan traced Elias's tattoos. Heartful. Failure? No, just the forge that tempered them all. Spring unfurled in New York like a hesitant confession. Cherry blossoms dusting the high line in pink apologies for winter's bite. Logan's life. Once a ledger of losses. Now balanced with the weight of wonders. Mornings tangled in Elias's arms. The scent of his lover's skin a balm against boardroom battles. Afternoons sealing deals that married might with mercy. Harper Steele's stock climbing like ivy on a brownstone. Yet the human drama, that eternal American opera of ambition and ache, demanded encores. The betrayal's echo hadn't fully faded when new fissures cracked the facade. It began with a ghost from Victor's vault, Harlan Crow, the Texas oil baron whose merger had nearly sunk the ship. Harlan, a silver-haired leviathan with a drawl like molasses over gravel, arrived unannounced at Logan's office one muggy June afternoon. Stetson in hand, eyes sharp as drill bits. "Heard you tamed the old man's wildcat," he boomed, settling into the leather chair like he owned it, which, in a way, he still did, holding 20% shares from the salvage deal. Logan tensed. the scar on his cheek twitching under the AC's chill. Elias had warned him, Harlan's old school, Bible Belt through and through. Tread light. But Harlan's pitch was seductive. A siren's song of expansion, joint ventures in offshore rigs. Steel for the green hydrogen wave. Billions in play. Your alloy's gold. But you need my pipelines to pump it. Dinners followed, steakhouses in the meatpacking district where Harlan's stories flowed freer than the bourbon. Wildcatting tales from Permian Basin dust-ups. A divorce that left him wiser and wearier. Logan saw the man beneath the bluster. A widower like Victor. Clinging to legacies amid shifting sands. Elias joined one night. His easy charm disarming Harlan's barbs. So, you the one keepin' RCO's head straight. With a wink and a quip about fusion cuisine. Meanwhile, deepened into domestic poetry. Elias surprised Logan with a weekend in the Catskills. A cabin nestled in the Shangums where cell service ghosted and stars blanketed the night like forgotten promises. They hiked Devil's Path at dawn. Hands clasped over mossy rocks. Sweat mingling as they crested peaks that stole breath and bestowed vistas. Evenings by the fire, Elias sketching Logan's profile in charcoal. Capturing the quiet intensity in his eyes. The way vulnerability softened his jaw. You're my masterpiece, Elias murmured. Setting the pad aside to straddle Logan's lap. Kisses igniting like flint on steel. Their lovemaking was symphonic, slow builds to crescendos. Bodies arching in firelight. Logan's name a mantra on Elias's lips as release cascaded like mountain streams. In the afterglow, wrapped in wool blankets, they dreamed aloud, adopting a rescue pup, maybe starting a foundation for queer youth in STEM, turning pain into platforms. Back in the city, the idyll fractured. Harlan's overtures soured when a tabloid vulture, fed by anonymous tips, splashed photos of Logan and Elias at a Pride after-party. Harper airs high society hookups, steal or scandal. The piece was lurid. Dredging Logan's coming out. Victor's disapproval, painting Elias as the exotic distraction. Shares dipped. Clients hedged. Logan stormed Harlan's suite at the plaza. Accusations flying. You leak this to tank my cred? Harlan's denial was velvet over iron. Son. I protect investments. And this. Circus ain't helping. But Logan's gut twisted. Harlan's eyes held the same flicker Victor's had in the boardroom. Paternalism laced with prejudice. The conflict escalated at the family compound in the Hamptons. A summer escape Victor had deeded to Logan as a peace offering. Harlan crashed the Labor Day barbecue. Yacht docked like a predator. His presence a storm cloud over the grill's sizzle. Victor, healthier now but haunted, clapped Harlan on the back too heartily. Their whispers carrying on the salt breeze. Elias, flipping burgers with forced nonchalance, caught Logan's eye, a silent steady. But when Harlan cornered Logan by the pool, bourbon breath hot, marry a nice girl, settle down. This boy's fun. But business is blood, the dam burst. You don't get to dictate my life, Harlan. Or my love. Logan's voice was thunder. Drawing stares from aunts in Lily Pulitzer and cousins nursing IPAs. Elias materialized, arm around Logan's waist. A united front. Harlan chuckled, but it rang hollow. Legacy's a jealous mistress? Ask your daddy. Victor, overhearing, stepped in, not defending, but deflecting. Enough. We're family here. But the seed of doubt sprouted. Had Victor, in his frailty, whispered to Harlan, Fed the beast to safeguard the throne? Betrayal's second act unfolded in emails unearthed by IT forensics, Harlan's assistant. Looped in Victor's old guard. Coordinating the leak with a nod from the compound. Victor confessed over chess in his study that night. Pieces scattered like fallen soldiers. I didn't greenlight it, but I didn't stop it. Thought. Maybe Harlan could guide you. Straighten the path. The word hung. A slur reborn. And Logan's heart iced. Guide me? Or cage me? I'm done chasing your ghosts. Dad. He stormed out. Elias trailing. Their drive back to Brooklyn a blur of headlights and hurled hurts. The chasm yawned. Romance straining under the strain. Arguments flared in their kitchen. How long do we let them define us? Elias demanded. Pots clanging like cymbals. Logan, exhausted, pulled him close. Until we rewrite the script. They made amends in the shower. Steam veiling tears. Water cascading as Elias dropped to his knees. Mouth a worship that coaxed Logan's surrender, gasps echoing off tile. Release a purge of poison. But the rift lingered. A hairline fracture in their foundation. Crisis peaked in October. Hurricane winds lashing the coast as Harper Steel faced a perfect storm. Supply chain snarls from the Gulf. Harlan threatening pullout. Logan called an emergency summit in Houston. Elias at his side like a war consigliere. The boardroom was a coliseum, Harlan at the head. Victor via video. Faces grim as oil slicks. Logan presented the counter, divest Harlan's stake. Pivot to full renewables. A bold bet on blue skies over black gold. This isn't just business. It's evolution. Ours fuels the fire. Harlan balked. But Victor's voice crackled through. He's right. I taught him steel. But he learned heart from. Elsewhere. The pivot passed. Harlan excised like a tumor. Shares surging on the news. Victor's follow-up call was contrite. You saved us. Son. All of us. Logan. In the Houston airport lounge with Elias nursing whiskeys. Felt the thaw. We're square. But next time, trust the rainbow. Romance rekindled in the aftermath. A honeymoon of sorts in New Orleans. Jazz funerals for the old ways. Beignet dusted like fresh starts. They danced in Preservation Hall. Bodies pressed to brass swells. Elias's breath hot on Logan's neck. This is us. Unbreakable. Nights in the Garden District manse dissolved into passion. Elias's hands pinning wrists to four-poster silk. Thrusts a tango of trust rebuilt. Logan's moans a hymn to healing. By winter, the circle closed. Victor. Remarried to a no-nonsense widow from his therapy group. Hosted Christmas at the Hamptons, Harlan's ghost banished. Toasts to futures forged anew. Logan and Elias announced their plans. The foundation launch. A scholarship for queer innovators. Victor's eyes misted. Proud of you. But of both of you. In the snow-dusted garden. Logan kissed Elias under mistletoe strung from the gazebo. The world a white canvas for their story. Humanity's arc bent toward light. Not always straight, but resilient. Logan. Once the failure. Now the fulcrum, steel in his spine. Love in his core, watched his empire gleam. A beacon for the bent and unbroken. Winter's grip loosened into a tentative spring. New York's thaw mirroring the slow melt in Logan's soul. Harper Steelworks hummed with hybrid vigor. Factories in Pennsylvania retrofitted for wind turbine frames. Boardrooms buzzing with diverse voices, women in hijabs pitching logistics, trans engineers tweaking alloys. Logan navigated it all with a steadiness born of scars. His corner office a sanctuary of succulence and Elias's abstract prints. The whiskey stain finally scrubbed clean by a diligent janitor who'd overheard too many confessions. Elias thrived in the shift, heading a new sustainability lab where his paintings hung beside prototypes, creativity's marriage to commerce. Their life wove domestic tapestries, Sunday runs along the promenade, where Brooklyn's skyline met Elias's stories of Bronx block parties, evenings cooking coke au vin from Victor's old recipe book. Laughter bubbling as Elias butchered the pronunciation. Intimacy evolved. Deeper waters explored, Elias introducing silk ties as blindfolds. Logan's trust a gift unwrapped in whispers and shivers. Their union a symphony of senses, climaxing in waves that left them boneless. Hearts hammering in harmony. Yet drama? That insatiable director scripted one final act. It arrived via certified letter, crisp as a guillotine, a shareholder revolt, spearheaded by Harlan's disgruntled proxies, alleging nepotism and lifestyle liabilities. The suit named Logan. Even Elias, painting their family as a cabal undermining fiduciary duty. Reporters swarmed one pen center, mics thrusting like spears. Mr. Harper, does your marriage distract from duties? Logan, stone-faced in the lobby, felt the old fracture ache. The high-stakes arbitration unfolded in a federal courthouse downtown. Mahogany panels echoing with legalese like funeral dirges. Logan testified first, voice level as he recounted the pivots, the profits, numbers that sang of success, not scandal. Elias followed, his accent thickening under stress. Love doesn't distract, it drives. Ask any innovator who's ever bled for a dream. Frail but fierce. Took the stand last, cane tapping like a metronome of resolve. My son saved this company when I couldn't. Question his heart. You question mine. The room held breath. The judge's gavel a punctuation of vindication. Case dismissed. With sanctions on the insurgents. But the true climax brewed in the shadows. Post-verdict. Harlan himself, lurking in a black SUV outside their brownstone. Desperation etching his face when cornered. I did it for the legacy. Logan. Mine, steel men sticking together. Betrayal's banal root, fear. Not malice. A father's echo in an uncle figure. Logan. Elias at his flank. Offered olive branch over bourbon at a dive in Harlan's old stomping grounds, legacies shared. Harlan. Join or fade. Harlan's nod was surrender. Shares repurchased at a premium. His redemption a quiet board advisory role, watching, not wielding. The emotional crescendo crested at Victor's 70th. A low-key affair in the Hamptons estate. Waves lapping like applause. Guests mingled, Elias's abuela trading tamale recipes with Logan's aunts. Board members toasting with craft IPAs. Victor pulled Logan aside at dusk. Sunset gilding the dunes, I called you failure once. Biggest regret of my life. His hand, steady now, clasped Logan's. You're the success. Built it all, company, family, heart. Tears pricked. Unashamed, Logan hugged him. The embrace a mending of steel cables frayed by storms. Ever the through line. Provided the denouement's grace. That night, after guests departed, Logan and Elias slipped to the beach, bonfire crackling as they shed clothes to the surf's murmur. Moonlight silvered their skin. Elias's body a landscape Logan knew by braille, kisses salty with sea spray, hands roaming with reverence. They made love on the sand, slow and sacred, Elias entering him with a gasp that mingled with gulls' cries, rhythms sinking to tidal pulse. Climax shattered like bioluminescent waves, leaving them entwined, stars wheeling above. Forever's our empire, Elias breathed, fingers laced in Logan's. Spring bloomed full, their foundation launching with fanfare, the Harper Rivera Initiative. Scholarships awarded to wide-eyed queer kids in lab coats. Dreams ignited in conference halls. Victor emceed the first gala. Voice booming, to the next generation, bend. Don't break. Logan watched from the wings. Elias's hand in his. Pride swelling like the Hudson at flood. Years folded like bellows. Forging forward. Victor passed gently at 82. Pneumonia claiming what strokes couldn't. His bedside vigil a circle of loves, Logan reading balance sheets aloud. Elias strumming guitar with old Sinatra tunes. His widow holding court with stories of their twilight tango. The eulogy Logan delivered in St. Patrick's Cathedral was humanistic hymn. He taught me steel's strength. But love showed me its flexibility. Mourners nodded. Rain pattering stained glass like tears. In the epilogue's hush, Logan and Elias raised a son, adopted from a Bronx foster fray. A firecracker named Mateo after Elias's abuelo. Mornings in their expanded brownstone echoed with toddler chaos, Mateo smearing oatmeal, demanding Daddy Low read truck books while Elias sketched caricatures. Harper Steele endured, a green giant in global markets. But Logan's true throne was home, bedtimes where stories wove legacies. Nights where Elias's touch reaffirmed, this is enough. At 50? Logan reflected from the rooftop. City lights a tapestry of trials transcended. Failure? Slayed by forgiveness's blade. The American dream, bent queer and unbowed, gleamed eternal, family not by blood alone, but by the loves that tempered the soul.